Gary Gredison Beats.
All right, so here we are, Ableton. Awesome. Like I said, we first open it. I don't even have to do anything. This window comes with 4 tracks, 2 MIDI, 2 audio, 2 effects, return tracks, and a master already created. Like in Pro Tools, you have to create the master track. You have to create everything. So this is really cool in that sense. So all right. Over here, on the left side, you have all the stuff that you can use with the program: instruments, audio effects, MIDI effects, and some other stuff. Plugins, if you install any added plugins, VSTs, VST instruments, any native instrument stuff, or anything. Audio plugins, instrument plugins.
I can't use my Pro Tools plugins.
You might be able to. You might have to just reroute them, depending on, because some of them come with this template set. Old template be ignored in the future. Consider saving a new template. Yeah, that's fine. So yeah, plugins here, and they'll be categorized in, I don't know. So for whatever reason, they broke this down into several different things. I have all these Waves plugins, and they broke it down into categories. So I have to remember which ones are in which category. Okay. But sometimes I just have to look through it. So.
And those are Wave plugins you bought specifically for Ableton?
Well, they work with my Pro Tools and also Ableton, because they come as VST and also the AAX at the same time. A lot of them do that now. So if you use multiple programs, you can buy or subscribe to or whatever one thing, and it'll work for all of them. So what do you have in terms of, do you have stuff for Pro Tools on there?
I just have like the air instrument, like the first bundle, and all the effects that you got with the program.
Oh, okay. I don't think those will work with this.
Okay.
But in terms of if you ever get your hands on anything,
like native instruments, because I want to get the Cyber Monday.
Native Instruments makes some amazing stuff. So here's all your stuff, right? Okay. It's broken down into different categories, right? Sounds and drums. But if you click instruments, it shows you specifically which type of instrument those sounds are in. So all these sounds and drums here are within this instruments category. Okay. It's just a quicker way to find, I'm looking for drums. Boom, drum kits. And there's a ton of drum kits built into Ableton already that you have already. Okay. If you click on, all these kits are the same in there. The only ones that you don't have that I have are ones that I made, that I saved here. Okay. Because I found samples, put them together while I was working on something, and then I saved the kit as a kit in there, which you can do easily. So if you let's try something. If I grab, I'll start this over, delete this.
And you said to switch over was Command Tab?
No, just Tab. Command Tab switches programs. Okay. Right? Yes. So that's a nice little thing that you're going to be using a lot of. You can also click here, these 2 things here. The bars this way and the bars this way. That will switch you. But I feel like that's just like slow. Because I like to work, when I have ideas flowing, I like to work quickly. So I had this idea here. I when you grab onto the MIDI track or any track, if you double click it, it comes up on the bottom. So let's start with the empty one here. This is an empty one, and it'll say drop an instrument or sample here. If I do that on an audio one, it says drop audio effects here. So this is like your chain, your signal chain here. Okay. So we'll go to the MIDI, and we'll go to instruments, and in drum rack, I have a couple of kits that I made here, but under drums, all the kits are there. So I could, in instruments, just open an empty drum rack here, okay? And I can add wave or whatever samples right onto each thing as I please. So these all represent keys on the keyboard, or they're done in the square like this, so that it matches. Like if I click this button, it's in the square. Okay. In this type of square here. So I could literally go to the desktop, open a list of samples I have, and drag right from the desktop onto one of these pads, and it'll pop that sample up. So if I open my, nope, wrong folder.
So I should also get like an external hard drive too, right?
Yeah, definitely. Because over time you're gonna start collecting sounds and stuff like that you may want to mess with. So like I have drums and a folder of just like one hits of like kicks, snares, hi-hats, whatever, all in here. So if I can, I'll just bring this down here. So I could audition them right in the desktop by highlighting and just clicking the spacebar. All right. And then just clicking down with the keyboard.
Okay.
That's cool.
I like it.
So let's say I like that, right? I'm going to grab that and just drag it right here. Which one? Oh. Yeah. Is this one on? Why isn't there this one not? Interesting. Okay, so I like this one. All right, so now I can build a kit now, based around just a bunch of samples if I want, or I can use built-in kits that are there. So let's just keep going with this and see what happens. So we like that little percussion there. Now we'll just that's kind of nice too. These are pretty decent. Okay, so these files here are what Ableton creates when you drag a sample into the program.
Okay.
It creates a file to match it so that it connects the program to it. So that's what these files are. And they get a little messy within the folders, but whatever. That's not bad. That's like a real trap snare right there. Haha. So I have another folder in here that has some nice kicks I'm going to look for. Ooh. Yeah, I think I've used it before. I like that one. So I'm going to put that on C, which is here. So, all right, so we got a kick and like a percussive like snare thing, but let's see. Maybe we want to. I think this was. Yeah, I liked this one too. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put these two together. And also there was. Yeah, so that's kind of nice too. So I'm going to use this drum rack and make these samples play together. Okay, and I'm going to show you that. And that's a cool. That's interesting too. We might be able to use that as a side thing. All right, so let's take a look here. And then we'll get some maybe some hats or something. So if we want these to play together, we have to stack them on top of each other, but we can't just drag it on there. So we have to show this list of the samples and then you'll see here within the drum rack, when you have a sample, this is a device, right? It shows like a little sampler device. I think it's actually simpler, the simple one version of it. And to either show the devices or the chain of, it's basically like a built-in mixer of sorts for the drum rack. And it shows all the stuff that you built into it. And then also I want to show the I/O, which is the input-output section of those samples. And now it's going to tell me which notes are playing this sample. So I want to highlight the kick that I want, right? And I want it to play on this C, but I want them both to play. So I know that this one is that, and this one here is the other one. I'm going to click this and turn on to C1, the same as this one. Now this just went to multi. Same thing with this. I'm going to turn the snare. I love the name. Thug, huh? So I got to first find out which one is this. F sharp 1, and that's F1. So we're going to go to F sharp 1. And now. So now it's playing both these. So now also you notice so one of them is louder than the other a little bit, and you can kind of not hear. So you want to balance them a little. So this one is a little bit louder, so I can bring the volume of that down a little by clicking and dragging down. And if I tab, I can see the level of this. It looks like it's kind of hot now. Anyway. So I should probably bring these down a bit anyhow. So I can open and close the mixer portion of the drum rack with this little arrow that shows up as soon as you start adding samples to it, which is pretty cool. The drum rack is like in this program is amazing. It has a lot of stuff. So it's a good place to start. Because also beats are drums. You know? Yeah. And that's what, you know, that's like one of the biggest parts of the beat. So I can grab all these if I want by clicking one, holding shift and clicking here. And this is a cool thing that I wish Pro Tools did, where I highlight all these, and if I pull down the volume or if I do anything with them, they all do it. And I don't have to group them and make and then undo the group kind of thing. Yeah. You know? And then once it's in the group, if I touch one thing, they all, and it's like, you know? Which is, it's good, but it's like me knowing that I could just real quick group these for like just a hot second and pull these down is awesome. So now I'm seeing that my output is a lot more reasonable. Okay? And then this is your master. You want to keep your eye on that. Make sure it's not clipping, which we know is bad, right? So back to the other side. Now I can look. So these volumes here match these volumes here. So when you adjust this, you're adjusting this.
Okay.
And then the output of the main output of the drum rack is at 0. And then if I pull it down, it's pulling the entire mix down. I can also right click this and then return to default, which is 0, which is a cool thing too. But there's a feature that Pro Tools has that I wish it had, where I could just hold Option and click it and it would go back to 0.
Yeah.
But you know, you win some, you lose some, right?
Yeah.
So now I'm gonna balance this one here. So the snare thug is a little hot in comparison to this one. So I'm gonna bring this one up a little and bring that one down a little. Bring it down a little more. And I'm just gonna bring this to 0. Oh, why won't it let me do that? Snare thug, huh? This one. Oh no, percussion. Okay, so bring it to 0. Return to default. Okay. Let's balance that a little bit more. Okay. Okay. So I already have this idea here. I'm thinking of maybe redoing it so you can see. That's how did it go. Now I'm a little concerned as to why this one now is no longer. Just needed a little reboot. Just needed to be unplugged and plugged back in. So this one I had, this was a preset instrument that was in here that I just double clicked and put on here. I adjusted the levels of the mix on it because it has 4 oscillators for the synth sound. So there's 4 different sounds playing out of this one synth, which this is the, I believe this is the analog or the operator. Is this the operator? Yeah, I believe it's operator. But so these are all the different instruments that are in here, and then within them have different sounds. So this is an analog synth emulator. This is operator, which is a different type of synth, which I believe is this one. It has 4 different oscillators. Sampler, which allows you to, if I, no, that's not what I wanted. If I had a new MIDI and I open Sampler and you dropped a sample on here,
Okay.
it puts it across the keyboard.
So voices, anything?
Anything. So you would put it there, and then you would tell it which note it is that you put, and then you would play, it would change the pitch of it amongst the keys.
Okay.
Which is cool, but you have to know what that note is in order for it to be in pitch, and you can adjust it all. There's a detuning, like a fine tuning and stuff like that. We'll get to that. For now, we're going to use a basic preset instrument, which is a good place to start. And I'm going to play this fucking loop again. So up in this left corner here, we have several things here. This is your tempo. So we're looking at the bottom corner here on the left. It tells me what it is. This is the tempo of the project. Okay. This is the tap where I could tap out the tempo and decide which tempo I want. But one thing to be aware of with the tap is if you tap 4 beats, it starts playing the project at that tempo that you tapped. So like if you have stuff sitting there that you're trying to figure out, it's a little weird. So I usually like to click somewhere where there's nothing, and I don't have the click on yet, and I just tap it out just to see what it does. But also for that same reason, I put an app on my phone that is a tap tempo, so I don't have to do that, and I just tap it on my phone and then adjust it on here.
Okay.
It's just easier for me. I just like that better because it changes the tempo as you, which is cool that it does that it, you know, sets you up ready to go. It's another one of those things. Let's get going. You know, it's no wait. let's not wait. But it's just better for me. I especially if I had already pulled a sample onto here or a loop or something, and I want to play the loop while I'm tapping the tempo. You know, to get a vibe.
Yeah.
Because once I do 4 beats on here, it changes it, and it could mess up what's playing on the screen there. So just be aware of that. So you could tap that out, or you can, you know, so then you just grab this and you bring it up and down. I selected 128 because that's what I tapped out when I started playing this. And this is the click. These 2 circles here, that's the click.
Click check?
Yeah.
Okay.
And you click that to turn it on, and you click it to turn it off. There's a volume for it on the master track. It's this Q headphone thing, right? This has other purposes. I'm still unsure about 100% what else it does, but it's the volume. To me, it's the volume of the click mainly. So if I play this, but it's cool because it means that the click is not going to the master output the way it would in like Pro Tools. It's going to the Q, which you could set up, but just know that this is going to be your click volume, which comes up also here on the master as this.
Okay.
So a nice 0 would be cool with that. So if I just simply have this track armed, I may not be hearing what's happening unless the track is in either monitor mode, which is in, or auto, which is it will play something that's here, but when it's but it will also be in monitor if there's nothing there. Well, especially with audio, if there's nothing there, it will be, you won't be live until there's nothing there. With MIDI, it'll be both. You'll be live while it's playing something. That makes sense? So you want to just go click auto and on, and then you'll be ready to rock. I sometimes forget that with the audio tracks because they default to off monitoring, which is a little shysty, but whatever. So click this little place anywhere here. Some people start at the beginning. I don't like to do that. It's limiting. It limits you to having no way to add anything before, or, you know, I like to have breathing room all around. I don't like to be, you know, to have some room, elbow room, you know? So I start like way over here somewhere.
Okay.
Even here sometimes, you know? But let's start here at 33. And this works a little differently than it used to on the older versions. So if I have this stuff armed and I'm ready and I just click record, it'll start recording. And again, this is how I like to do this rather than doing it in clip form on the mixer mode, right? Doing it here, because I could just do this, right? And then I could look at this and say, I want this to be a 4-bar loop, right? Okay, so and I could change the color of this so I could see it better. I could make this a 4-bar loop. No. Length. Here we go. 4 bars here. Now it's 4 bars, and if I was to do this, it would be live now if I played. It's not. This is something different. Oh. I have to actually, that's a new thing. Wow. See, I don't normally use this format, but I have to actually be recording in order for this. Let's see. Oh, now I'm not live? Oh, fuck me. That's why I don't like you to use that mode. Fuck it. We're going here. So that's my loop, right? My cheesy little loop. Okay. And it's 4 bars. Okay, so now I want to make it just that, right? This last note was the beginning of a new bar. I don't need that. So I could grab with this. So similar to like the Smart Tool with in Pro Tools, is that this thing changes, right? So this will trim, right? This will put a cursor. This will move. So I'm going to use this one and highlight the stuff that I want. I could do a lot of things here. I can Command E to separate it from that, or I can Command X to cut it out and place it where I want it with Command V, which, let's do that. Boom, it's right there now. It's all cozy, nice by itself. And then Command L will loop that, right? And it's all based on the grid behind it, right? Because it's all following those lines, which is based on the tempo of the session. So I can zoom into this by going up here where there's a magnifying glass right here.
Okay.
Grabbing and pulling down and moving, right? Which I do a lot. But also with the plus and minus keys on the keyboard, I can zoom in to wherever the cursor is, which is pretty cool.
Okay.
So I like to do a bit of both. Sometimes it's nice for me to be able to, move this around, and sometimes it's nice to just zoom in with the keys. So now we have this, and it comes up on the bottom here, this clip. And this is where we can edit the MIDI information. This looks familiar, right? You've seen these type of things.
Yeah.
So, and the same goes here with the magnifying glass up here. So it looks like some of this is off a little bit, right? I wasn't perfect. I could click in here and hit Command A and select them all. Select all the notes. And I could hit Shift Command U and bring up a quantize window, or whatever the last setting on the quantize that I used stays in place if I just hit Command U. It will do it. See it shifted. I feel like I want to make a list. Fucking Wendy's straw. I'm gonna put this somewhere. What is it? A-B-L-E?
Ableton, Ableton, yeah. Ableton. Keys.
Command L. Okay, so let's see here. What were we saying? So if I do Command A, select all, and that goes for here too. Just selected everything that's here. Apparently on every track though too. Yeah, I thought it was going to be just one track, but that's okay. So here then it will do the same thing on the MIDI notes. It will select them all. So Command E, separate clip or region. Command X, cut. Command V, paste. That's common in a lot of programs. In fact, Command E is also separate region in Pro Tools. Command A is also select all in Pro Tools. These are all the same in Pro Tools here. Tab is not, so don't. You know, if you're using Pro Tools, I do it all the time. Tab, fuck. You know?
Yeah.
So, tab it sends the cursor to the end of the last clip, or the following clip region. So all right. So I selected all here, and then I said, what did I say? Command Shift U, Command Shift U is it's what is it called? The quantize settings. And then Command U is just quantize. So whatever the last time you did Shift Command U, whatever that was setting, which notes you set it to, which percentage of correction you set, that is now, you hit OK, that's now the setting for the next time you hit Command U. So if you like that setting for the most part, which I usually leave it around 30 something, because this way I can do it a little bit and then see how it sounds, and then a little bit more, you know, instead of like just going, a lot of people just go to like 100 or 80 or something right off the bat. I don't really like to do that, because I like to, you know, things should have a little bit more of a like natural feel, I think.
Okay.
Not always. Sometimes I'll just grab the things and drag them right to the bar. You know, so, and also you can't always rely on quantize to do it right, especially if you were far off, because if you were far enough off, it'll go to the wrong beat, you know.
Yeah.
So you have to pay attention to if it's sounding better or not. So I'm gonna hit OK, and it looks like it's moving in the right direction, so I'm gonna play it. Oh, that one was not. So I'll undo that. See, this one was late. Actually, I could redo it and just manually fix some of them, you know? So this first one is not coming up because it's before the beat, so it's not playing. So I'm going to bring that one and then Command U that 100 times. Make sure it's on the 1. Personally, I like to, things like the first beat, like the third beat, those beats that are like the anchor beats, you know? I like to put those as close to, especially the first beat of a phrase. Let's say it's 4 bars, the first beat of the first measure. I really would like to be precisely on the 1, right on the beat. Just because that's when it comes, you know, when it comes back to that, and every time it loops around, and every time it hits. And if I use that to start a new section or drop it into a chorus or something like that, it lands right precisely on that beat, and it just feels good, you know? It just feels good. So, yeah. And then the rest of them can have like more of a relaxed kind of vibe around the beat that's more natural. So I'm gonna then take some of these and just do it a little bit more. And then you can also grab these notes and lengthen or shorten them too. Same way you can with the clips out here. So I could grab this, and what I like to do is hold Command while I'm doing that. I'll grab it first, then hold Command. So I could just do it just a little without it following the grid, really. And just make it a manual situation. Alright. That's not bad. So we already built our drum kit, which is pretty cool. So we can jump right to that. So I just played this is really cool feature about this program, the new version of this program.
Okay.
I just played a phrase. I wasn't recording, but it still saved it.
Okay.
So if I go to create and I go to capture MIDI, it brings up the thing that I just played, which is pretty fucking amazing.
Yeah, it is.
Because they're using this is version 10. I used version 8 for a very long time. So many times I was like, fuck, that was so cool. Wait, how did I do that again? You know?
Yeah.
And I was about to hit record and I started like, you know, like, oh shit, I forgot, wait. And now I can just kind of like jam and go, oh wait, let me see what came up. You know?
Yeah.
I try not to rely on it like that, but it's really fucking cool. So now, so some of these are a little off because I wasn't really like trying to do it. I was just trying to get a vibe, and then I was like, oh, that's cool. So let me fix this a little bit now. So this one, again, I want to make sure that's like, especially on the kick drum, the first one is the first. I'm going to put that right on the fucking beat right there. also is pretty off. So I'm gonna fix that with the U, Command U. So also sometimes like with these type of phrases, like that's a decent space between those two hits, but it's just that this one doesn't really fall on the one. There's like a nice space here, so I'm gonna grab these both by clicking over here and highlighting the two of them, and then doing that thing where I click it, hold Command, and then drag it slow just a little so that they move together, and then turn the click off now. This end phrase could probably also stay together and just, there we go. For me, I like to do the drum beat with the kick and snare first, and then add like percussion stuff over it. You know, sometimes I'll play like a little bit with like the hi-hat or something together, but I feel like I'd rather lay down the foundation of the beat first, you know? That sounds kind of cool. So I could then, on this same MIDI track, add something. I could now add a sample to this and then add more over it while it's playing. That's to be the auto kind of thing here. But if I wanted to record over it so that it doesn't erase what I have there, I have to have the overdub button pushed, which is this. It says here in the bottom left corner, MIDI arrangement overdub. When enabled, existing notes and MIDI clips will be mixed with rather than replaced by newly recorded notes. Okay, so you need to have that on in order to, because yeah, you could play with it, but then if you hit record over it, it will erase the stuff that's there. So I'm not sure why it doesn't default to being on, but just remember that. So now, okay, let me look through those, that sample folder here. See if I can, I gotta start organizing these in folders like hi-hats and percussion and stuff. that same hi-hat would sound more like it would make more sense in your head section open also. So between these two here, right, what I can do is under here it says choke. Now, what I need to do is put them both on the same choke list. So I just pick one. Why not just start with one? Alright, so now, you know, it's like it's now connected like it's one thing, like it's a real hi-hat that's opening and closing, right? Which even though, okay, maybe you're not using a real hi, you're not going for a real drummer sound, I feel like it still makes sense to do it that way. I feel like it's still kind of, when you hear it, like, yeah, okay, you know, because these clearly don't sound like a real drum kit. It has a, you know, sampled sound to it. But it's nice to have this kind of thing. So then because of that, I would like to probably take these two and pan them probably to the same place, or roughly the same place, which I can do right from here or in the drum rack mixer over here. So on the, ooh, it looks like I'm hitting the red a little here, so, and it's on that kick. Pull this one down a little. Okay. We're gonna probably have to keep doing that a little bit. I'm gonna pull all the drums just a touch here. And then I'm gonna take everything. I can see I can do this with every track too. I grab one, shift, and then click down the line, and just pull everything down a little. Okay, cool. Alright, so what was I gonna do? Okay, the hi-hat here. We can take these two. And pan them a little bit left. So I grab this is the pan here, this is the pan on the audio tracks and stuff. But within this mixer, it just comes up as a little dial here, a little square thing here, so 20. And I gotta pull it down to go left for whatever reason, and up to go right. That's kind of the way these up, you know. Ooh. Yeah. So I'll actually show you how we could do that in just a couple of, maybe, I don't know if we can do that today, or we'll get to that. Okay, so let's close that down. So let's maybe try and get a little hi-hat pattern going over this. I forget what I was doing before. Ha. Amazing. So I want to take these open ones and pull them down here. This is where the velocity hold option. It will copy. So hold option. Click move. I have another one of those are important ones. Command Z. You familiar with that one? Undo. And then redo. Yeah, this is a very common amongst most Apple programs, or Control Z in Windows. So like sometimes after I now add like a little percussion or something, I'll do some fine editing on all of them, just to make sure it has a cool groove to it, So this is a nice thing, but I'm just gonna grab them both and slide them a little, and then maybe just slide the snare by itself a little closer. So having like a little space where not everything is like on the beat is sometimes okay. Like this has a nicer feel to it because of that. This one here though seems a little too far off. We'll command U about that. Same thing with that. What's cool is these grids are fairly intuitive for the most part, as long as they're set to like narrow or something like that, where it will change to like smaller as I zoom in or out. But you right click the thing here, and then narrowest gives me more out here. So it's pretty intuitive either way. Medium. I like narrow because it's somewhere in the middle, and I kind of can get a little deep there or not. So maybe some, I don't know, bass or something. Do you know what the notes on the keyboard are?
I was doing a little trick. This is C, D, E, F, G, A, C, right?
Yep.
Okay, yes I
There you go. You're ahead of the game. So, what am I at? C, D, E, F, G, A. A minor is the key of this song now. Well, that means now everything else I do should be surrounding that key, And I believe I just kind of hammered on that main chord, A. few under sampler. I have a few bases that I created with the sampler, with that thing I was telling you about before. So I'm gonna pull one of those up for now, and then as we get a little further with this, I'll show you how I made those. Let's see if, fucker. There we go. Ooh, that's kind of nice. I may as well just keep using this cool feature. You know?
Yeah.
Because why the fuck not? So now it's the same kind of thing. You see, I just go right to grabbing it, open the thing, and cleaning up what I just did. It's like, that's what's great about this, is I have this thing on loop, I recorded this thing, I popped it in here, and now I'm working with it. You can't do that in Pro Tools. You just cannot do that. You gotta click it, open the new window for the MIDI, and then it's like this nightmare to get put the notes where they should be on the grid. And it's just like, get me out of here. You know, just get me out of here. I just want to stop doing this. And then this is like the total opposite. Like, yeah, I'm getting ideas, I'm doing this, I'm flowing, I'm moving, you know.
Yeah.
So, you know, now, oh, see, that quantize didn't really do what I wanted it to do. So I'm gonna grab this, quantize that one again, just the beginning. I'm gonna take this, and what I like to do sometimes is, if I'm zooming in here to play with these notes, and it's like something especially like the kick and the bass, how it's following the kick a little pattern here that I just did, I'm gonna zoom in here where and if these tracks are not next to each other, I'll grab it and bring it next to that one, so I could see what happens when I change these according to where those kick things are. Because they may not necessarily be precisely the same as these grids, right? Because we said that sometimes they're not. So I'm going to zoom this in, and then so you see here's where the kick lines up in this full grid here. Oh, this is the loop. That's the kick there. Okay. Cool. So now we're looking at this. Now I'm going to grab these and bring them over here. And I can see what happens here based on that. And so I'm also going to now grab this one and pull it back over here. And then what I might do is grab the kick drum and adjust that slightly too. And now they're kind of not the same, but they're close. So I'm going to go back to this, and I'm going to probably shorten this first note a bit. Yeah, I do have on the sampler, under the global filter, right, I have the envelope settings for the sample. So you remember we talked about that probably a bunch of times in classes, I'm sure. Whoa, with the filter, yeah, but the envelope, the attack, decay, sustain, release, right?
Hit, and then how long it takes to leave.
Yeah, how long it takes to decay and go away, kind of. So those settings we can adjust for the way that it plays back the sample. And you can do that with a synthesizer too. But in this case, we're doing it on this click the sample tab here. All these tabs are up here.
Okay.
We're doing it on this bass sample, which is just that deep, like, one hit of a bass that I put in here and set up, which I'll show you how I did that. Okay. And I adjusted some of these and saved it as an instrument. But so what I'm going to do, oh, okay, yeah, this is pretty long. So the release is pretty long, and so what it's doing is, and because I had it, so it looped at the end, so it's perpetually playing until this stops,
Okay.
right? So now it's playing, I'll solo this. There's a tail to it, you know? So then I can see now, maybe I want to pull this back a little more. And so at this point, we'll look at what my master's doing with just the bass here. It's taking up a good portion of the mix right now. Just the bass, which I don't mind because I kind of like that. So let's see what else happens with that. Yeah, so it's making all the other stuff kind of. So now I'm going to grab a global across the board and pull everything down a little. So now I can make sure. And then at this point, I'll probably take. Okay, I got some room now. I'll probably take the bass and bring it back, just back up a little bit. Then what I like to do is test it out. At this point, I've got a few parts, right? Bass, drums, loop. I like to test it out with an audio effect here on the master with a limiter. Right? So I'll grab that and put that on here. Just to see what it sounds like when it's all done. Right? I do this periodically throughout my whole process, just to get a vibe for what it's going to be like when I squeeze it all together and put it together at its current setting. So hi-hats are a little hot right now. So I'm gonna grab the two of them in here. Oh no, here. These two. There we go, a little more subtle, more groovy. It's not bad, but I'm gonna attempt to take this one out. But first, I'm gonna copy this here, the original way I had it. So it's always there, you know, with the option drag. Come back here. And I'm gonna take this space here, this one of this measure, grab, yeah. Oh, there was one thing I wanted to show you. I picked a different sound, so it didn't really lower that, so it doesn't make that weird noise. there's a cool. Let me just play this for a second. Match the tempo on this thing here and do. With this little note repeat button, if I hit this, it's so I could do little, and I can pick which pattern I want, and then as long as the tempo's following it, it'll record the hits in that way. And it's not perfect, so you have to kind of go in and fix them a little. But sometimes the groove of it is nice that it's not perfect, whereas I would make that pattern by copying them. Before that, it's cool to get an idea for where you would flip it in there,
Yeah. Well, that means you'd have to cut it into small pieces.
Well, you could just have a hit and then just option kind of thing, That was interesting. That's weird. It's not terrible. Just a quick little, I'm not in love with it, so I'm gonna just fucking, for now, quantize these a touch more. So usually as I'm going, I'll just clean up little things just to let it really just nestle together, just because I quantized and put everything in place at first doesn't mean it's all ready and done. Because I might, just to get things to sit together well, be playing with it as it goes, as I build. Like this main melody part, I might do a little bit more on just a touch more. And then I might also now, so even though these are MIDI instruments now, they also have, now that there's an instrument in here, you see now it says drop audio effects here, which it said drop an instrument here before. Now that there's an instrument, now you have an audio chain after it. So now I can go to my audio effects and add audio effects to the inserts of this particular track. So I could go and just grab an EQ, which there's two different EQs built in here. This one, EQ8, is an 8-band EQ that has, you can change each band based on what you want to do with it. So remember we talked about curves in EQ class and how you need to know what the curves are? Those are the curves. Alright? So here's your peak curve, here's your shelving curve, your low shelving curve, there's your high shelving curve, there's your high pass filter, low pass filter, and then these are variations on that. I guess this is, like a sharper cut, whereas this one is a softer one. And then those are your low pass, peak. This one is a notch filter. But you can make a notch filter out of the peak curve if you want. So this is a cool, and this new version has the spectrum playing in behind it, so you can see what the EQ looks like before you EQ it, and then as you're EQing it too. I don't ever rely on that though. You know me, I like to hear things. What does it sound like? It's more important that way, I very well you could be seeing that these are high and you would dip here, but that doesn't necessarily mean you should be cutting there. So, but that's just a cool thing, and you can turn all these on and do low pass filter, high pass filter on any one, whatever you want, shelves. So this is a cool EQ. I like that. This one is a cool thing also that I discovered playing with this, the EQ3, which is only 3 bands here. But it's kind of strange because if I turn off the high band, wherever the frequency is set, it becomes a low pass filter now because this is off to this point. Whereas to this point now, this gain here or cut is a shelf, just like this one is, and it's based on wherever this frequency is set. But if I turn it off, it's all together now basically a low pass filter. And when I do like little effects like that, where I automate that to do that, I like to use this one instead of EQ8 for the low pass filter, because this one has just something weird about how tight that filter is that it gives it a cool, I think it's because it's a shelf that's totally off now. It's almost like the equivalent of, let's try that again. It's almost like the equivalent of doing this band as a high shelf and cutting the gain all the way, and then doing like something like this, as opposed to having an actual low pass filter on, And instead of doing all that, I just grab the EQ3, turn this one off, leave the gains as they are, and just it's just a little softer now. Ooh, this is nice. See, that sounds cool. And then obviously you use the same on the low end for the high end. That might be nice to set apart, Yes, how to do it, make it right, something like that. So what did I say we do? Okay, what else? Cool. So I'm gonna save this just because why not? This could be what's that?
So I don't want to lose that.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Sounds like it's coming out good.
Yeah, it's something. October. We'll call this the, what did I call it before? The dreamy retardo beat.
Yeah.
And it's 128 BPM. I like to label my beats with the tempo always, just because way too many times I was doing something and I had to I gotta reopen the thing to see what the tempo was. Because I'm trying to look for something or connect it with something else or whatever, something. This way I always know what the tempo was. Sometimes I'll put the key too, but it's not really as, like I might do, what does I say, A minor?
Yeah.
Just like that. not the whole damn shebang? So I'll save that. So, right now this is just a loop. But that's really how everything starts, kind of. This is just gonna kind of move this stuff out of the way here a little bit. That's other reason I like to start things later. I have sort of like a way I can just like kind of move things out of the way, have stuff here if I need it or whatever. Yeah, like with that, I tend to always do that. Like, I'm not sure about this one note or this one thing. Let me save a piece and retake it. Even with audio, if I'm cutting and moving stuff, I'm unsure about this copy. Save it over here, and then let me play with this. I don't really like that. Delete it, put that back, and then try and do something else. Leave a copy there to play with. Where it's done. So also I want to maybe play with the bass here and compress it a bit. I don't like this freaking compressor. So I'm going to bring the attack down a little bit and bring up the ratio. I'm going to compress this kind of heavily. Bring up the ratio fairly high. Threshold down. And open up the release kind of wide so that it like still compresses even if it falls as it tails away. We'll extend the tail a little bit. Yeah, kind of like that tail is a little louder now. More prominent. And it drops more drastically when it does go away, which is kind of cool. So I kind of like that. Bring this a little bit closer to that note. Yeah, softer. What I also like to do a lot is I like to open up my rack and route the bass through my Ableton preamp. I have an issue with my other compressor. I think I blew the fuse on it or something. It was running too much crazy shit through it. I don't know. But I'd like to do that again, compress it here, then run it through my preamp here, compress it with the DPX, and then record it back once I have the phrase I like, and then it becomes an audio file instead. Just because I like to run shit through Ableton, because it gives it a little, especially that thing, it's got tunes and everything. It's a beautiful machine. It cost me a lot of fucking money, so I like to make use out of it as much as possible. But for now, this is cool. So for definitely for next time, I'd like you to have that keyboard thing, and I'd like to see if we can get you bring your charger too, so it doesn't die on you.
Okay.
You have a charger for that, right?
Yeah, I was gonna bring my my computer case, but I couldn't find it in time.
It's all good. We're still getting moving on this, so this is good. Because I want to get you doing something, doing this. Just playing with an idea, looping with it, and seeing how you can build on it. So, like I said, you don't have to necessarily get that memory upgrade right away, but I would probably like put it in your sights over the next couple of weeks. See how you can finagle the bagel on that,
Okay.
But we should be able to get you running and making some cool stuff now. I mean, based on what we did here and knowing some of these things, these are going to help you. I'm going to give you this. We're going to add to it as we come up with ones too. Or maybe we'll leave it here. You take a picture of it so you have it, and I'll add to it and take another picture of it, kind of thing.
Okay.
Or I'll take a picture and send it to you. I don't know, whatever.
Alright. I have a little notebook bag too that I'll bring next time. I usually put my notes in it.
Do that, and do that, and then maybe you write them out, because also writing them out sometimes gets you to remember stuff. That's what I think, at least. And knowing these is going to help you do this. If I had to click my way through every single little thing, it would be a lot rougher for me. So, and generally, for the most part, well, I guess not. I was going to say, sometimes it'll give you certain hotkeys over here. And also in the menu, if you want to do something, it'll give you the hotkey in the menu. Not for everything, but good group tracks. So also, like, that's the other thing. Let's say I wanted to create another MIDI track, right? And pick a different bass than the one that I picked. Right, maybe this one. And I copy this thing here. But the way that that sample is, it's in a different octave. So I could select all, Command A, and then Shift down arrow, changes the octave. So Shift down arrow, or down up arrow. Change note octave down or up. So it's the same notes, but just an octave down by doing that. That's quite a substantial amount of level there. yeah, that's like that'll probably be the next step. You make the loop, and then you know copy it, move it around, and then start deleting things, changing stuff on the other one. Maybe I would make these two like the full chorus kind of thing, and then take the next one, and then maybe drop out the drums. Have it. I could do other stuff after that. Change this up, something like that. Maybe change the sound on this, or whatever. There's a whole bunch of stuff we could do. Make a new track with a different sound that does the same pattern on it or something for the verses, or take it out or filter it down for the beginning of the verse. So there's a lot of things we can do, and we'll just we'll move on to that. Cool.
Perfect.
So we got a nice list going. We got you kind of started. Maybe you'll fish around with some of this stuff. I can email you a picture of this if you want to look at that. You could do that right now. And then this way,
Some practice at home.
that's the one thing about doing this stuff is you have shit looping that you're working on, and it's like it just gets like ingrained in your brain for a while.